Hey guys, welcome back to Naveen Codes. Welcome back to the ninth tutorial series in our Spring MVC tutorial series. The previous video we saw how to we created a sign up option in our website. We created a model class which will hold the employee data. So the user will input the employee data like ID, first name, last name, email, etc. We used a model attribute to capture the data, and we printed the captured data in the console like this, right? So in this video, what we are going to do is, instead of like simply printing it in the console, which of course we did for testing purpose, but in the real applications, we have to store the data, whatever the data the inputs, user gives, we have to like store the data in a database, right? So in this video, we are going to see how we are going to connect this application to a database, and we are going to see how to store the data inside the database. Okay, so let's comment out this. So in order to connect this Spring MVC application to a database, we use some external connectors. Okay, so we use something called JDBC. JDBC is a external tool which is used to connect our Spring MVC application with the database. So the most commonly used database is MySQL. Okay, so it's an API. Okay, so you know what an API is, right? API is a communication protocol, we can say, or we usually use APIs. We usually consume APIs in our websites. So whenever we use a third-party business logic, so we will like contact that with that third-party business logic or third-party service provider uh, through REST APIs, and we will like get response, and we will use the response in our website. Okay, so that is what we that is called as consuming APIs. The same way we are going to use this API called JDBC. So JDBC, we don't have to like write any REST API calls. We will like import JDBC as JDBC drivers. We will like add dependencies in our pom.xml, and we will we will like add the JDBC drivers in our application, Spring MVC application itself. Okay, jar files will be added. So, and then we have to configure the connectivity with our database. Okay, JDBC is just a tool to connect to a database, but in order for the tool to work, we have to configure some connection properties like the database name, and then our MySQL will have some username, password. So all those things we have to configure. Okay, so let us see how we have to do all those things. Okay, so let's now let's start with connect with the creation of database. Okay, so open your MySQL. I hope you all know how to uh, install MySQL. It's a very simple, straightforward approach. Just go to Google, type install MySQL, and then just like install the installer, and from the installer you can like install MySQL Workbench, MySQL Server, and then there will be a MySQL CLI command line interface. So all those things you can install. Okay, but the most frequently used tool is MySQL Workbench. Okay, so this is the MySQL Workbench. Initially, when you like open MySQL Workbench, it will like ask for password. Uh, just like set the username and password as root. Okay, so that is the uh, most common username and password that we set. Of course, this is a local database, right? So only we are going to use it in our system. It is not going to be hosted on the internet. So nobody is going to like misuse this, right? Even if they misuse, nothing big is gonna happen. So just like set root as username and password. Okay, so now just go ahead and create a new schema. Click on this plus button. If you click on this, it will ask for a new schema name. Give a new schema name and give apply. In my case, I've already created one schema, Naveen codes underscore DB. So follow this naming conventions, just like we follow camel case namings in our Java. We have to use this underscore to split the first and last sentence in MySQL. That is the convention that is followed. Just follow the same convention. Okay. So now we have like created the DB. Let's go ahead and create the tables inside DB. Okay, so everything can be done from the command line itself. You don't have to like write any SQL queries. Now let's create a table. Just follow me and create the table. Let's name our table as employee data table. Okay, give a meaningful name. Just like if you go and look at the table name, you should be able to understand what data is being held in the table. So give some meaningful name. So follow the convention like I said. So in our employee data, what are the columns that we are going to create? So our employee model class has, that is my employee. Okay, so our model class has four attributes: ID, first name, last name, email ID. So these things has to be like stored in the persisted in the database, right? So we have to create four columns. One column to store the ID, the employee IDs, one column to store the first name, one column to store the last name, one column to store the email ID. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the column names. Let me name the first column as employee underscore ID column. Okay, and the data type should be int, of course, right? So because like the ID is going to be of type integer. And one more thing here is that this ID should be a primary key. I hope you know what a primary key is. A primary key is used to identify uh, unique records in a table, right? So if you set a particular column as primary key, all the entries that gets into that column should be unique entries. In our case, employee ID is going to be unique. Obviously, each employee has to get a unique ID, right? That is how employee management system works. So create the employee ID column, give it as data type, and declare that as a primary key. So the next column is going to be employee first name. It can be a varchar. Okay, same way. Next is going to be employee last name. It will also be of type varchar. And then employee email. Okay, this is also of type varchar. Once we have like defined all the columns, click on apply. So MySQL will automatically create the query for you, right? So just like we have done everything through the user interface, click on apply, finish, and the table has been created for you. Okay, so now we have created the table. Now the next part that we are going to do is the configuration part. Okay, so in order to configure the database connectivity, we will use a Spring framework class called data source. Okay, so Spring framework internally provides some classes which is used for this configuration purpose. So we will use those classes and we will like create the connectivity. First, let us register the data source class as a bean in our Spring container. Okay, so for that, what you can do is uh, this in the same way like we have created bean for view resolver, we are going to create the bean for data source. Let us give the id as ds. Okay, and then class will be equal to this is a bit. What you can do is there are online like in the internet like ready ready-made code is available. You can just like copy paste it. Okay, copy these beans, paste it here. Okay, if you don't know how to like search, just search for this. just like search like how I like searched connecting to MySQL database from Spring MVC app. So Geeks for Geeks is always a very preferable website. So just like copy the code from that website, paste it here, job done easily. So this is the this is the data driver manager data source class. This in this class this class will take some properties like the database URL and the password, username password. They have like commented out this. They have like commented out this because like we have to like configure for our own database, right? So for that purpose, they have like commented out. We will uncomment this. URL is going to be the same, but this last after this slash whatever is given, that is your database name. So they have like used some database called test. We have like created our own database called Naveen Codes, right? So let's give that database name. Okay, right? So all these unwanted comments. And then the property name, username, value is equal to root, password is also is root. You also like give the same username password, both should be root. Okay, now this is done. We have like configured the uh, data source, like uh, we have like given the database URL, we have like given the username and password, and then this like we have created another bean for the JDBC template. JDBC template is the you know class which has all the queries, or like when we like create write queries, we will like those queries will be the all the uh, inbuilt out of the box features that we use in the DAO layer. So those out of the box features will be like contained in this JDBC template class. Okay, we will see that once we like start writing our database layer, DAO layer, we will like use this JDBC template. So now it's done, right? The next step is to create the database layer. For that, let us create a new package. Application dot. Let's name the database layer as TA. Done. So in this, what we are going to do is we are going to create a new interface. Let's name this interface as employee DAO. Okay. Why do we like create this interface? Why do we like create an interface, and why do we like implement it? I will like explain it shortly. This interface, let's define one method public. We are going to like use this DAO layer to insert data inside the table, right? So let's name this function as insert employee data. This will like take the employee model class as an attribute, as the attribute. Will like take one attribute, which is the employee model class, because the data is going to be set in that employee model class, right? So only that data we are going to insert into the database, right? So that is why we have like one attribute, which is the employee model class. Now we have to create a class which will implement this interface. Let's like name that class as employee DAO IMPM. Okay, so this is the convention. So whatever layers, whether it be the service layer or the database layer, you will create an interface which will like contain the uh, uh, blueprint, right? interface is just the blueprint of the class. So interface will contain all the methods. It will not contain the method implementation but method declarations, right? And then that interface will be implemented by a class. So the naming convention should be like this. The implementing class should end with this impl. Okay, so follow this convention. Interfaces, let's like add it here. Okay, that's it. So we click on finish. It is like implemented, and the method also is like overwritten. Spring Eclipse automatically has returned this code. So here we have to use the JDBC template OB class, right? Let's like declare that JDBC template. We are going to inject this JDBC template to a dependency injection. We will do a setter based injection. I've like explained, hope you remember what is a setter based injection. I've like explained you the different ways of doing a dependency injection, right? If you're like not sure of it, refer my previous videos or Google it, know what is a setter based dependency injection. Okay, so now we have done this. What we are going to do is we are going to write the query. So first let's write the query. Insert into employee data, which is the table name. Make sure that you give the correct table name here. The uppercase lowercase sensitivity is there. Okay, make sure you give the correct table name. Just a simple insert query, anybody can write. So what is this question mark that I've given? This is actually the attributes or the data which we are going to pass dynamically. Our data is present inside this employee class, right? So employee class, right? So we have to uh, insert the data which is present inside this employee model class inside this table. Sorry for the typos. You understand, right? So we are going to uh, insert the data contained inside this employee model class inside this table. So we have totally four fields in this employee class: the ID, first name, last name, email ID. So you have like to click put four question marks. So the data present inside this class is dynamically going to get passed inside this query. It's going to get set inside the database. Okay. Now we are going to use the JDBC template OB class. It has a function called update, and we have to pass the query and the dynamic data as attributes. What is going to be the data? It's going to be the attributes of the model class, right? So we will like call the getters of this employee class, because only if we call the getters we will get the data. Get last name, employee dot get email ID, done, right? That's it. So we have successfully written that we have successfully written the table layer, and we have written the query, and we have like called the update method. This should like insert the data into the database, but we have to, before that we have to like call the DAO layer from here, right? So once the user like fills the form and gives submit, control is only going to come to the controller. It is not going to go directly to the DAO layer. So we have to call the DAO layer from here. So how do we do that? For that, first process is to create a DAO, create a bean for the DAO layer, right? Let's create that. Okay, we have done this, but we are not going to initialize in the in using conventional ways. We are going to auto wire it, or in other ways, we are going to inject the DAO layer inside this controller using the auto wire annotation. So this is done. We have auto wired it, but since still we are missing one step, we have to register this employee DAO as bean, right, in our container. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's name the IDS employee DAO class equal to com dot spring MVC dot application dot DAO dot employee DAO INPL. Okay, and this is going to take one property, which is the JDBC template. We will simply tell it to refer to the JDBC template P, which we have already created. Okay, that's it. That's it. Okay, so now we have done everything. uh, the controller, we forgot to like call the database. We have like created the DAO bean, the DAO bean for the DAO layer. Only thing that is left is we have to call the sorry, employee DAO dot insert employee data. That's it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and test. Refresh it. Let me insert some data. Okay, I've got some error. Let's like troubleshoot. What is the error? Duplicate entry. Okay, looks like I already have one data. Okay, here if you see, I already have one data with the employee ADS one. That is why it's throwing this primary key error. We'll change this to 2. Now we 2, massive 2. Now we 2 what have it got this submit. Okay. Now let's go and check. Cool. So the data has been inserted successfully. Okay, so this this is what we like intended to achieve, right, in this session, and we have like successfully achieved it. Let me like summarize what we have done. We have like created a database connectivity. We have created a database in MySQL, and we have like created a table inside the database, and we have like successfully inserted the employee data, which is like given by the user, we have like successfully inserted the data into the database. How we have done that? We have used JDBC. So JDBC is a connectivity API used in Spring MVC applications in order to connect to the database. Okay, so you need some dependencies. I forgot to show you the dependencies that we need, right? What you have to, these are the dependencies that you have to add. Okay, you have to add the dependency for JDBC, you have to add the connector. Okay, these two things, and one more thing is you have to add this DAO, Spring Framework DAO. Okay, Spring DAO dependency also. You need to add these three dependencies. Okay, these two are compulsory. Without these two mm, dependencies, it won't work. Add these dependencies, do a maven, go to give maven update project or give download sources. The jar files will get downloaded. So once the jars are downloaded, go ahead and add the configuration. Okay, these are the configurations. We are using the Spring data source, right? So these are the beans that we have to create, and these are the properties. In the properties, you have to like give the database URL and the um, username and password, and then you have to create a DAO layer. The DAO layer, make sure that you create the interface and implement that interface. Okay, so because why do we like create an interface? Because without an interface we cannot do dependency injection. You see here, we are doing a dependency injection, or we are injecting the DAO layer in the controller, right? So you are like declaring this employee DAO using this interface. So if you are not created that interface, you are like straight away creating this employee DAO APL, you cannot do dependency injection. Okay, so make sure that you create an interface and implement that interface. So this is the code. This is the code to insert the data inside the database. So it's pretty straightforward. If you have like done this, if you have like learned servlets, right? In servlets also we will use JDBC to insert data to database. It's like mostly similar like servlets, right? So maybe the configuration part might be different, but the concept is same. Okay, so hope you like find this session useful. This is very like very important part. Whatever applications you take will have a database connectivity, right? So make sure that you do this correctly. Okay, just follow whatever I have done, and connect to the database, and insert data into the database. Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Let me like meet you in the next video. Thanks.